Prophecy Decoded. Decoded the past, reveal the future.
They say the world will drift on, calm and predictable. But listen, the ground hum, the air tightens, borders blur, old lines fade, new lines harden. They say this is politics, but what if it's prophecy? They say it's only policy, but what if it's a sign? Tonight, we test that claim. We lay the headlines beside ancient words. We hold our moment up to the mount. We measure the noise against a voice that never lies. We ask the question many sense but rarely speak. Could this migration wave align with Matthew 24? Could this shaking be a signal, not a glitch? You need to understand this, because if it is, everything shifts, and that shift lands in your house, your heart, your street. Right now, as we speak, the earth is in motion. People move by the millions. Some leave. Some run. Families carry bags and memories. Fathers carry fear and hope. Mothers carry children and prayers. Teenagers carry phones and fragments of a future. The numbers break old records. Camps overflow. Borders strain. Towns change overnight. The news cycles, then forget, then spin again. But beneath the media churn, there's a deeper rhythm. You can feel it if you pause. Like a drumbeat underwater. Like thunder before you see the flash. This isn't just policy. This isn't only news. This is human history repeating. This is prophecy whispering. And the whisper is getting louder. Think about Syria. Think about Ukraine. Think about South Sudan. Think about Eritrea, Venezuela, Myanmar. Think about the caravans rising through Central America, step by step, heat and hunger pressing them onward. Think about the boats in the Mediterranean, overloaded, fragile, chasing a horizon they cannot see. Think about Europe's tension. Think about America's border. Think about small towns absorbing big shocks. Schools stretching, hospitals overwhelmed, social fabric pulled thin. And then remember one line from a hillside long ago. Jesus said, "Nation will rise against nation. Nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom." He warned of famines. He warned of earthquakes. He said these were the beginnings, like the first stirrings before the sky splits. Like the early contractions that tell you the body is preparing. Those early pulses are spaced apart. Then they come faster. Then they come harder. Could this be one of those pulses? Stronger than the last, closer than before. If you're a man in your middle years, you've watched tides turn. You remember quiet seasons. You remember roaring ones. You remember when truth felt anchored. Now, the anchor drag. You watch the news and wonder, is this the time? Is this that day? You are not alone in that question. Men across cities whisper the same thought. The clock feels different. The winds feel strange. The moral compass points true, but the crowd marches south. This isn't just history on a screen. This is your future at the door. But hear this. Migration isn't new. Ancient Israel knew it well. Abraham walked roads we now trace in dust. He left home at a call. He crossed borders under a promise. He survived because God saw. Israel lived as strangers in Egypt. They were welcomed, then feared, then oppressed, then delivered by a hand stronger than Pharaoh's. They were commanded to remember. Love the stranger, the text says, for you were strangers. Love the stranger, for you were strangers in the land of Egypt. Israel's soil was never isolated. Traders crossed it. Armies marched through it. Cultures brushed against it. Archaeologists dig and find the ripples. Pottery styles shift. Food patterns change. Burial customs reveal new blends. Old seals show new names. Every shard says, people moved then too. So if movement shaped the past, What does it mean for the present? Stay with, because what comes next will ground you. We're going to read. We're going to connect. We're going to test. We're going to see if Jesus' words align with our moment. And if they do, we will not panic. We'll prepare. We will not despair. We will discern. Wisdom steadies. Wisdom lights the path. Stay alert. Keep your lamp lit. Hold your post. Matthew 24 begins with a shock. The disciples point to the temple. Majestic, immovable. Jesus says, not one stone will be left. Imagine their faces. Everything solid will shake. Not one stone here will be left on another. Everyone will be thrown down. They ask for a timeline. They ask for signs. He speaks of deception first, then wars, then rumors of wars. He tells them not to be alarmed. These things must happen. But the end is not yet. Then he says, peoples will be in conflict. Kingdoms will clash. Famines and earthquakes will strike. He calls them beginnings. The first stirrings before the storm forms. The early rumble before the sky tears. The opening notes of a symphony of shaking. Scholars wrestle with this passage. Some say Jesus spoke mainly of the fall of Jerusalem in the 1st century. Others say he looked past that local catastrophe to a final convergence. Both layers are true. Prophecy often spirals. It forms patterns that rise and recur. It moves in cycles that build. It casts shadows before the final form. In times of shaking, these patterns reappear. They echo with new intensity. They gather momentum. They culminate at the end. The phrase nation against nation holds weight. In the original, the word is ethnos, peoples, tribes, ethnic groups. Not only modern states, it points to cultural collisions, identity friction, internal tensions that fracture a society from within. That's the core. From here on, we'll speak of peoples in conflict. Look around. Do you see clashing identities? Do you see neighborhoods changing faster than trust can grow? Do you see fear rising behind windows? Do you see language turning sharp? This is more than battlefields. This is fault lines in communities. Think of ancient Judah. When Babylon came, people were seized. Families split. Elders marched east. Craftsmen take. The land emptied and mourned. The city fell silent. Those who remained adapted under foreign rule. Those who left learned to sing by rivers far from Zion. Generations reshaped by distance. When some returned, they brought new skills. New name? Administration changed. Seals were stamped with different officials. Offices restructured. The records show it. Movement reshaped a nation. It always does. It breaks, then it builds. Then it heals, punishes, then it purifies. So here's the question that matters. Are our modern migrations part of that same rhythm? Are we in a sequence where each pulse sets off another? One surge looked like Syria's civil war, freezing cities and pushing millions outward. Another felt like Europe's border strain. Trains halted, fences raised, government split. Another spreads through inflation, triggered by distant wars and broken supply chains, making groceries a monthly judgment. Another rises from droughts and failed harvests, pushing farmers into cities, then across borders. The sequence tightens, each wave higher than the last. But sensing is not enough. We need the word. We need wisdom as ballast. Go back further still. Abram faced famine. He went down to Egypt. He moved because bread failed. That's practical. Survival. But it's also spiritual. God leads him through scarcity and tests his trust. He emerges with lessons and wealth, humbled and sharpened. Later, Jacob's family goes to Egypt for grain. Favor turns to fear. The host nation forgets Joseph. New rulers see threats where once they saw blessing. Law, burdens right. Then deliverance comes. The Exodus is movement in reverse. From empire to wilderness. From bondage to covenant. From borrowed soil to promised land. What do we learn? Migration is not a moral stain by itself. It rises from famine, war, persecution, and fear. It can produce oppression. It can produce compassion. God meets people on the road. God shapes identity and community in transit. God gives laws to guide nations who receive and nations who send. He commands his people to remember their own story. He asks them to extend mercy, yet also practice order. Mercy without structure crushes systems. Structure without mercy crushes souls. Wisdom binds them. Archaeology adds nuance where ideology blurs. In Egypt's delta, foreign communities settled during certain periods. Some came as traders, some as laborers, some rose to influence, some returned home. Evidence shows integration with tension. Not all newcomers arrived with blades. Many arrived with tools and babies. Complex motives, mixed outcomes. That complexity mirrors today. That is why easy answers fail. That is why slogans collapse on contact with real life. Israel's laws reflect the tension. When a stranger dwells with you, treat him as the native. You shall treat the stranger who sojourns with you as the native among you. Strong word, mercy-centered. But the same law expects justice. It expects order. It expects honest weights and fair judges. It sets borders for holiness. It calls for Sabbath rest that protects workers and animals, rich and poor. It binds worship to covenant faithfulness. This is not chaos. This is structured compassion. Not cold cruelty. Not open anarchy. A narrow road between ditches. It demands heart and mind. It forms a people fit to bless. Ancient sites in the north of Israel show cultural exchange. Art styles blend. Frescoes hint at distant influence. Storage rooms hold surprising imports. Wine cellars whisper of trade and feast. People moved. Idea. Goods moved. And Israel had to navigate the flow. Sometimes they did well. They kept covenant and blessed neighbors. Sometimes they failed. They forgot God and absorbed idols. The test remains for you. Who forms whom? Do we shape the city, or does the city reshape us? Now zoom to the present. The global number of displaced keeps rising. Wars unsettle old borders. Economies wobble under debt and shocks. Natural disasters bite hard and frequent. Political systems struggle to hold. The United States wrestles with a relentless border crisis. Europe argues over quotas and identity. The OC debates boats and rules. Canada recalibrates targets. Australia tightens, then loosens, then tightens again. Cities feel the squeeze first. Schools stretch. Hospitals overflow. Shelters fill. Neighborhoods change. Compassion costs. Security matters. Leaders argue. Voters harden. Hearts break. People on both sides feel unseen and unheard. Faith communities stand in the crossfire. One group points to law and order. Another group points to mercy and welcome. Both open their Bibles. Both find a case. The tension is real. The stakes are high. And here is the spiritual challenge. Can we hold truth and love together? Can we uphold laws while seeing faces? Can we guard gates without hardening hearts? Can we welcome wisely without inviting chaos? That balance is not easy, but it is necessary. A wise man does not choose between brake and steering. He uses both. Romans speaks to government. It affirms the role of authority to restrain evil. It affirms the right to wield the sword of justice. It affirms order as a gift. Jesus speaks to disciples. He affirms compassion. He identifies himself with the stranger, the prisoner. I was a stranger and you welcomed me. The early church lived in empire under suspicion. They navigated both truths. They obeyed where conscience allowed. They resisted when worship was demanded of Caesar. They cared for foreigners and orphans. They honored rulers. They feared God above all. Is this tension part of the distress of nations that Jesus foretold? Consider the pattern. The sea and the waves roar. People roar too. Anxiety spreads like flame. Hearts weaken from fear. Love cools under constant outrage. Yet, in the middle of the noise, the gospel runs. It runs into camps. It runs into tenements. It runs into hotels filled with new arrivals. It runs across language barriers through friendship and food. It runs into places closed to missionaries but open to migrants. That changes the map of mission. That shifts the strategy of heaven's harvest. Let's trace prophetic patterns. In Scripture, movement often precedes turning points. Before judgment, people move. Before restoration, people move. Before revival, people move. The exile scattered Judah, and prophets wrote letters urging faith and work in a foreign land. The return rebuilt Jerusalem, walls and worship. Jesus himself moved as a child to escape a mad king. He crossed borders as prophecy closed in around him. The church exploded after persecution scattered believers out of Jerusalem. Flight became mission. Pain became purpose. Displacement became deployment. Consider the coastal peoples who arrived in ancient Canaan during the upheavals of the late Bronze Age. They brought new crafts and customs. Their pottery left a fingerprint in the soil. They settled cities and reshaped trade. Israel had to respond. Giants were faced. Judges were raised. Kings were formed in the crucible. Conflict refined identity. Pressure produced clarity. It often does. When comfortable routines break, essential truths surface. Now tie this to a line from Jesus that often gets overlooked in debates about signs. This good news of the kingdom will be preached in all the world as a witness to all peoples, and then the end will come. This good news of the kingdom will be preached in the whole world as a testimony to all nations, and then the end will come. How does that happen in practice? The digital world helps. Missions help. Bible translation helps. But movement may be the unexpected tool. People leave closed nations for open ones. They meet believers. They hear truth without fear of a knock at midnight. They carry it back in their hearts on return visits. Or they stay and form communities that reach their own across the street and across oceans. The flow of people becomes a flow of witness. That's not random. That looks like strategy from above. So perhaps the immigration crisis is both a test and a tool. A test of our hearts. A tool in God's hand. An early surge in a longer travail, marked by regional wars, cascading shortages, and cultural whiplash as neighborhoods transform faster than institutions can adapt. It does not cancel the need for order. It does not cancel the need for laws. It reframes the moment with mission. It calls the church to readiness. It calls men to leadership. It calls families to hospitality with wisdom. It calls citizens to advocate for justice and compassion together. This raises hard questions with no easy slogans. What does wise welcome look like? How do communities stay safe while staying soft? How do churches avoid navy and still stay loving? How do we stop traffickers and protect victims? How do we honor authorities and obey God? How do we avoid becoming numb to the suffering and blind to the dangers? These are not theoretical issues. They are urgent. They are at the doorstep. They require prayer. They require planning. They require sober minds and warm hearts. Keep your lamp lit. Hold your post. Look again at the laws given to Israel. They made room for the stranger to work, to rest, to celebrate harvest. They allowed a path to belong. They demanded fairness in courts. They protected gleaning rights so the poor could eat with dignity. But the laws also maintained boundaries. They guarded worship from dilution by idols. They required the same law for native and stranger. They forbade partiality. This framework kept compassion from collapsing under the weight of chaos. It kept order from freezing into hardness. It gave a path for strangers to become neighbors. Now, bring it into the current reality. The border is not an abstract line. It is a moral bottleneck where fear, hope, crime, and courage collide. On one, predators see profit. On the other, families see survival. Some are genuine asylum seekers, fleeing persecution. Some are economic migrants fleeing despair. Some are bad actors hiding in the flow. The system struggles to tell who is who in time. Overwhelmed systems make poor judgments. Poor judgments erode trust. Eroded trust fuels anger. Anger fuels hard swings in policy. Hard swings hurt the vulnerable most. That cycle must be broken. How? Communities need layered answers, not one-size slogan. Cities need support from states and nations. Churches need clear roles that honor law while serving need. Governments need the spine to enforce rules and the heart to make humane ones. Citizens need the discipline to resist outrage bait and do the quiet work of neighbor love. Men need to lead their homes with steadiness. Pastors need to shepherd without partisanship. Business leaders need to reject exploitative labor practices that draw people into shadows. All of that is slow. All of that is sacred. Let's return to the pattern of early contractions. When they begin, they are faint and far apart. You can talk through them. You can breathe. Then they tighten. Conversation pauses. Narrows. You measure time in minutes and winces. Then they come in clusters, back to back, leaving little room to recover. Systems behave like bodies under strain. In the last decade, consider the clustering. Conflict flares, markets jolt, supply chains crack, food prices spike, cities strain, debate ignites, policies lurch, then a lull, then another flare. Each cycle leaves institutions more fatigued and less resilient. If that is the pattern, then wise men should not wait for calm illusions. They prepare in the swirl. What does preparation look like for a household? Start with the basics. Anchor identity in Scripture. Read it aloud at your table. Pray with your family by name. Teach your sons to control their tongues and their tempers. Teach them to carry weight quietly. Teach your daughters to be strong and gracious. Store modest supplies without fear. Keep documents in order. Build relationships with neighbors. Learn the names of local officials. Know the churches that serve refugees with integrity. Offer time and talent before headlines scream. Preparation is not panic. It is love stretched over time. What about a church? Clarify mission. Train volunteers. Build partnerships with legal aid groups that operate above board. Vet organizations that offer housing, counseling, and job training. Create clear safety policies for buildings and children's ministries. Preach the whole counsel of God, not just a pet verse for mercy or a favorite line for law. Teach people to think, not just to react. Help your congregation practice hospitality in small ways first, one family at a time. Have prayer nights that gather the H and the hope. Have benevolence processes that steward resources wisely. Remember that Sunday altars are not substitutes for Monday systems. For civic leaders who carry the burden of policy, remember this guideline. Clarity is kindness. Vague laws breed chaos. Chaos breeds cruelty. Cruelty breeds backlash. Backlash breeds whiplash policies. Write rules clear enough for honest people to follow and dishonest people to fear. Resource border points properly. Crush trafficking rings without mercy. Speed legitimate claims with competent staffing. Reject both demonization and romanticization of migrants. Work with faith groups who can mobilize thousands for good, but hold them to shared standards. Listen to border agents and social workers. They know the pressure points. Craft policies that survive election cycles because they reflect first principles, not fever dreams. Let's bring the prophetic lens back in. Peoples in conflict rise when identities are threatened. Rapid demographic change can trigger that fear. Without intentional work, fear hardens into hostility. Hostility erodes love. That is why the warning about love cooling matters. Men who once loved God and neighbor can grow numb under constant outrage. And, because lawlessness will be increased, the love of many will grow cold. And because lawlessness will be increased, the love of many will grow cold. To keep love warm, structure your life for encounter. Share a table with someone new. Mentor a father looking for footing. Bring meals to a shelter. Pray with a man whose case is tangled in a system he doesn't understand. These small fires keep hearts from frost. At the same time, keep your eyes open. Not everyone who arrives is harmless. Evil uses every channel. Traffickers hunt the young. Gangs recruit the desperate. Cartels exploit the chaos. Villains wear the mask of need. That's why discernment sits beside compassion at the table. That's why background checks matter. That's why controlled access matters. That's why partnerships with law enforcement matter. That's why churches must train and not just feel. Softs. Sharp. Let's step back to the map of history. Daniel saw kingdoms rise and fall. Metal turning to clay feet. Beasts emerging, then judged. He saw thrones set. He saw one like a son of man receive a kingdom that won't pass away. Between the beasts and the throne sits a long corridor of turbulence. Identities clap. Empires rebrand. The poor move wherever bread and peace survive. The saints learn to endure. The wise shine like stars. That picture was not drawn to paralyze. It was drawn to orient. To say, the waves will come. Build on rock. Revelation shows nations streaming into a city where the Lamb is light. It also shows systems of commerce and control that crush the weak. It shows a mark, a counterfeit belonging, a system that says, trade belongs to those who bow. In that world, becomes more dangerous and more essential. Dangerous, because control seeks to pin every movement. Essential, because the gospel rides relationships. If digital walls close, human bridges open. The more elite systems seek to lock people into grids, the more the Spirit uses simple tables and doorways as gates of the kingdom. Now consider an awakening happening within communities rediscovering ancient identity. Men are reading promises once ignored. They are seeing themselves in stories once flattened. They feel a call to return to covenant, to walk with weight, to bear responsibility. Shaking does that. It knocks sleep from the eyes. It makes people ask who they are. When borders blur, you must know your house rules. When cultures mix, you must know what you carry and what you won't. When pressure builds, you must know your foundation. Scripture anchors identity. Covenant shapes it. Holiness guards it. Mission expresses it. Let's revisit the hillside again, as if we were there. The men with Jesus wanted specifics. He gave them signs and a call. He said deception will increase. He said peoples will be in conflict. He said lawlessness will spread. He said love will cool. He said those who endure to the end will be saved. But the one who endures to the end will be saved. But the one who endures to the end will be saved. He said the good news will reach all peoples. He said, then the end will come. He did not give a date. He gave a posture. Endure. Keep your lamp lit. Hold your post. Be faithful in your lane, your family, your city. You may ask, Is immigration itself a direct, explicit sign predicted line by line? Not in a neat checklist way, but it intertwines with the signs we are given. War drives families to flee. Famine pushes farmers to cities and across borders. Earthquakes and floods make whole regions move. Lawlessness creates highways for criminals and graveyards for victims. Peoples in conflict inflames politics, splinters communities, and cools love. The spread of the gospel to all peoples accelerates through movement. These threads are braided into a rope that pulls history forward. The pattern looks like early labor that intensifies, each event tightening the window and exposing how fragile our systems truly are. So what now? Open Matthew 24 this week. Read it slow, out loud. Let the phrases settle like stones in the riverbed of your mind. Read the prophets and watch how God uses movement in judgment and mercy. Read the letters and see how the church learned to live as strangers and citizens at once. Then look at the city around you with a new lens. Look at the headlines differently. Ask God for eyes that spot opportunity and danger with equal clarity. Ask for discipline to plan. Ask for courage to act. Ask for wisdom to speak when words help and to be quiet when silence heals. You are not called to fix the world. You are called to be faithful on your street. Keep your lamp lit. Practical steps often steal the drama but build the future. Meet with 2 or 3 men this month and plan a rhythm of service. Choose a vetted local ministry that helps newcomers learn language and law. Offer practical mentoring, budgeting, job hunting, interview skills. Sponsor a sports league where boys from different backgrounds learn respect and rules. Work with your church to host a citizenship class run by professionals. Partner with legal clinics that fight trafficking. If you own a business, refuse under-the-table exploitation. Insist on fair wages and proper documentation. Teach your kids to greet the new family on the block. The kingdom often advances at the speed of a shared meal. At the same time, speak into policy with clarity. Write to representatives. Ask for strong enforcement against smugglers. Ask for increased adjudication capacity so legitimate claims don't languish for years. Ask for smart technology and boots on the ground where needed. Ask for mandatory verify paired with support for businesses to transition without collapse. Ask for humanitarian parole policies that are transparent and limited. Ask for asylum standards that are consistent and compassionate. Ask for reintegration programs in home countries funded by public-private partnerships. So leaving isn't the only hope. Ask for data transparency so trust can grow. Be specific, respect, persistent. Now, a word about fear. Fear is not always a liar. Sometimes fear is a smoke alarm. It tells you something is off. But living in fear is like standing in the hallway with the alarm blaring and never checking the kitchen. Identify the fire. Is it a policy gap? Is it a cartel exploiting chaos? Is it a city budget strained to breaking? Is it a church burned out by trying to do everything? Name it. Then act with others. Fear shrinks when brothers stand shoulder to shoulder. A word about anger. Anger can be righteous. It rises when the weak are crushed. It rises when law is mocked. But anger is a poor architect. It builds crooked houses. Use anger to fuel courage. Then let wisdom draw the blueprints. Speak firm, but clean. Resist dehumanization. Resist mockery. You can fight evil without becoming it. You can guard your home without losing your soul. A word about fatigue. The long haul wears good men down. The news is relentless. The needs are endless. The winds are slow. Build rhythms that restore you. Sabbath is not a luxury. It's a command. Laugh around your table. Sit under trees. Lift heavy things with friends. Turn off your phone at night. Read a psalm before the sun. Fatigue makes cowards and cynics. Rest makes builders and fathers. Let's revisit the pattern of surges with concrete signs that deepen the metaphor. Early surges bring scattered shocks. A conflict in one region, a spike in crossings another month, a sudden flood that displaces thousands. Mid-surges stack shock. War plus crop failure plus price hikes, all while agencies are understaffed. Late surges feel like compound crisis. Violence pushes people. Climate stresses crops. Inflation strains budgets. Politics paralyze decision. Criminal networks expand, and public patience thins. In that phase, small wins matter. Coordinated local responses matter. Neighborhood watch linked with social services matters. Churches coordinating with city halls matter. Everyone rowing in rhythm matters more than any one boat sprinting alone. Think about schools. Classrooms absorbed the first wave of integration. Teachers are now frontline interpreters and mentors. Support them. Volunteer as tutors. Create father-led reading circles. Fund translation headsets for parent-teacher nights. Sponsor field trips that teach civic basics. Schools stabilize neighborhoods. When schools thrive, think about policing. Officers are asked to enforce laws and build trust at once. That tension breaks many. Churches can host listening nights with officers and newcomers together. Simple rule: respect the badge, respect the person, ask honest questions, no grandstanding. These nights diffuse rumors and set a tone. When trust grows, tips, and predators lose cover, think about the workplace. The job site teaches language faster than any class. Businesses can partner with training programs that emphasize safety and compliance. Unions, where present, can share best practices for integrating new workers without depressing wages. Workforce boards can align public funds with private needs. The result is dignity through work and stability through income. Think about housing. Rapid shifts can spike rents and fuel bitterness. Cities can speed permits for accessory units and encourage faith groups to convert unused space into code-compliant transitional housing. Men with tools and time can spend one Saturday a month helping bring these spaces up to standard under licensed supervision. Mercy and building codes walk together. Now, return to the soul. Peoples in conflict is not only a demographic fact, it is a spiritual challenge. The enemy loves to sow contempt between neighbors. He whispers labels. He inflames stereotypes. He turns exceptions into rules in our minds. Resist. Refuse lazy narratives. He stories. You will find men who want what you want. Safety, work, a future for their children. You will also find brokenness and danger. That's why we need eyes and hearts, not one or the other. Consider the parable of the Good Samaritan through the immigration lens. The road is dangerous. Bandits lurk. A man lies bleeding. The priest and Levite pass by, maybe for reasons that seemed valid at the time. The Samaritan stops. He binds wounds. He pays an innkeeper. He promises to return. Cost, risky. But notice the structure. He hands the man to an established system, an inn, with accountability and payment. He doesn't take him home indefinitely. He doesn't leave him in the ditch either. He builds a bridge that law and love can both walk on. That's a model for us. Let's talk about the church's witness in a polarized age. The world expects us to pick a side and shout. When we refuse that script, we become interesting. When we enforce our safety policies with humble firmness and keep our doors open for prayer and help, we become reliable. When we avoid partisan slogans and instead host after-school programs, addiction recovery groups, citizenship classes, and fatherhood cohorts, we become necessary. Necessary people influence policy from the ground up. Necessary people get calls when leaders need counsel. That's how SALT works. It preserves by proximity. What about guarding against deception? Jesus warned first about false voices. Crises attract charlatans. Some will claim special revelations for a fee. Some will exploit fear to build platforms. Some will promise quick fixes if you just donate or vote this way. Test every voice. Does it align with Scripture's whole counsel? Does it exalt Christ or the speaker? Does it produce love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control in its followers? Or does it produce chronic outrage, contempt? The fruit never lies. Now consider the household liturgy that forms resilient men. Begin mornings with a psalm and a proverb. Keep it short. Keep it steady. Pray for leaders by name. Pray for border agents by name if you know any. Pray for missionaries and for local ministries serving newcomers. Pray for the families crossing deserts and seas tonight. Pray for judges who decide cases. Pray for cops who face brutal choices. Pray for trafficked women and children to be found. Pray for men tempted to grow hard. Pray for churches tempted to grow naive. Prayer keeps your heart warm and your mind sharp. Cultivate table habits. Phones away during dinner. Ask each person, where did you see God today? Ask, who did you serve? Ask, what truth did you practice? These small questions build big muscles. They turn faith into motion. They prepare your children to live in a world of mingled peoples without losing themselves. Strengthen alliances. Meet quarterly with pastors from different backgrounds. Share data. Share needs. Swap volunteers for special pushes. Coordinate calendars to avoid duplication. Host joint prayer nights focused on the city's pressure points. Confront evil directly. If your city has trafficking corridors, learn them. Work with police-approved programs to identify signs. Hang posters in multiple languages that give hotlines. Train ushers and security teams to spot indicators. Make your church a refuge where victims can signal for help safely. Do not underestimate the darkness. Do not overestimate your strength. Walk humbly with trained partners. Rebuild trust with simple acts. Host a monthly Shop with Dignity market where families buy essentials at symbolic prices. It preserves dignity and stretches budgets. Let local officers attend off-duty to mingle. Invite caseworkers and clinics to table. Provide translation volunteers. Seed the event with small groups ready to befriend. Repeat it. Consistency builds trust. Trust calms conflict. Calm reduces call. Cities breathe. A word on men's work. Culture often sidelines men. Crisis invites them back. Build crews for practical service. Fixing bikes for kids. Repairing apartments for widows. Helping newcomers set up with donated furniture. Teaching basic home maintenance. Pair older men with younger men. Skills transfer. Wisdom transfers. Aimless energy turns into strength under mission. Now, return to prophecy's horizon. The good news going to all peoples is not a side note. It is central to the timeline. When we see communities from distant lands standing in our neighborhoods, some of the last unreached languages are now within walking distance. That means the task is more reachable than ever, and also more urgent. If the pace of movement is part of the early travail, then the pace of witness must match it. We cannot miss this hour. Guard against two traps. One says, everything is an end-time sign, so nothing matters. The other says, nothing is an end-time sign, so live as usual. Both are wrong. The wise path sees the pattern and leans into purpose. The wise path plants gardens and builds houses like exiles with hope. The wise path keeps lamps ready like virgins waiting through the night. The wise path invests talents like stewards who expect the master's return. Stay alert. Keep your lamp lit. Hold your post. Let's talk about courage. Courage is not noise. It is quiet fidelity when crowds drift. Courage is reading the same word daily when headlines shout new stories. Courage is telling your boys the truth about sex, money, and honor in a world that peddles confusion. Courage is saying no to easy lies that paint all migrants as saints or all as sinners. Courage has a spine and a smile. It walks with a limp and a laugh. What about hope? Hope is not optimism. Optimism looks at data and smiles. Hope looks at a cross and an empty tomb and stands. Hope said, kingdoms twist and topple, but the king reigns. Hope said, early contractions hurt, but they herald new life. Hope said, the shaking will end with a city that needs no sun because glory lights it. Hope protects love from freezing. Hope fuels labor in long seasons. Some will ask, where is God in the camps and the caravans? He is where he promised to be, near the broken-hearted, in the hands of believers who bring water and counsel, in the courage of a father who refuses the cartel's proposition, in the kindness of a border agent who treats a terrified child with dignity, in the wisdom of a judge who discerns truth from tale, in the endurance of a pastor who serves both fearful locals and traumatized newcomers. He moves in the shadows where cameras don't go. He writes quiet stories we will only hear fully in the age to come. Others will ask, what if this overwhelms us? It might overwhelm your plans. It will not overwhelm God. Our job is not to carry the world. Our job is to carry our corner faithfully. The body of Christ has many members. If each part moves, the whole moves. If each city does its part, a nation adjusts. If each nation attends to its duty, a region stabilizes. The scale is vast, but the assignments are local. Let's articulate the long obedience. Over the next year, choose 3 threads to pull. Serve, advocate, disciple. Serve one family or one shelter faithfully. Advocate for one policy change with sustained, respectful pressure. Disciple 2 men to be stable fathers and faithful workers. The multiplier effect is real. Over 5 years, that becomes dozens of lives steadied, laws refined, and men grown. That is not flashy. That is kingdom. Beware of spiritual drift. Our crisis can make you a news addict. Regain liturgy, morning word, midday prayer, evening examen, weekly Sabbath, monthly fast, quarterly retreat, annual review of calling and goals. These anchors keep you human in inhuman times. Remember your story. If you trace far enough back, most families crossed borders. Some crossed oceans in ships. Some crossed deserts on foot. Some crossed city lines for safer streets. Gratitude softens pride. Gratitude tames contempt. Gratitude opens hands. Imagine now a sunrise over your city. People from dozens of nations wake under the same sky. Some are citizens. Some are new. Some speak your language. Some don't. Yet the same sun warms all. The same God sees all. The same gospel can reach all. The crisis is real. The strain is real. But the opportunity is also real. Don't waste it. Don't harden your heart. Don't close your hand. Don't lose your head. Walk in truth. Walk in love. Walk in power. Let this sink in. If this moment carries early contractions of a larger travail, then panic is not the response. Preparation is. If this is a test, slogans won't pass it. Faithfulness will. If this is a tool in God's hand, mission is the move. The time is tight. The world is loud. The king is coming. The fields are white. The road is rough. The spirit is willing. The church must be ready. Hold your post. Right now, as we speak, someone is crossing a border. Someone is leaving home for the last time. Someone is waiting in a line. Someone is praying for a miracle. You can be the answer to that prayer. You can be the calm in the storm. You can be the neighbor in need. You can be the wisdom in a shouting match. You can be the man who stands when others sway. Keep your lamp lit. This isn't about politics alone. This is about purpose. This isn't about headlines alone. This is about holiness. This isn't about winning arguments. This is about winning people. Don't let the age's cold wind freeze your heart. Don't let lawlessness make you lawless. Don't let fear make you cruel. Don't let compassion make you careless. Take up the narrow path. It's hard. It's worth it. It's where the King walks. You may wonder, how do I keep balance? Start at the table. Pray daily for leaders and law enforcement. Pray for border agents. Pray for judges. Pray for lawmakers. Pray for pastors. Pray for aid workers. Pray for families on both sides of the fence. Pray for trafficked women and children. Pray for men tempted to turn hard. Pray for churches tempted to turn Navai. Pray for policies that honor truth and mercy. Then get involved locally. Volunteer where you can. Mentor where you can. Give where you can. Learn a name. Learn a story. Learn the art of welcome without surrendering wisdom. Stay alert. Also prepare your house. Keep documents in order. Keep an emergency plan ready. Keep your finances disciplined. Pressure test systems. Build resilience now. Teach your sons to be steady. Teach them honor. Teach them to protect and provide. Teach them to open doors wisely. Teach them to speak calmly and clearly. Teach them the book. Teach them to pray like men who carry weight. Guard your mind against cynicism. Cynicism looks sharp but rots the bones. It says nothing changes, so do nothing. Faith says small seeds grow into trees. Faith says loaves and fishes multiply. Faith says mustard seeds move mountains. Keep planting. Keep sharing. Keep showing up. In time, fruit appears. Guard your speech. Words frame world. Your children live in the house your words build. Speak life. Speak truth. Speak blessing. Refuse to curse image bearers, even when you oppose their choices. Model strong disagreement without contempt. In a world of clashing identities, controlled tongues disarm bombs. Guard your eyes. Outrage feeds on images curated to inflame. Limit your intake. Expand your view. Read long-form reports from multiple angles. Talk to people who do the work, not just those who talk about it. Ground opinion in reality. Reality humbles. Reality clarifies. Remember the promise. The shaking will end in a kingdom that cannot be shaken. Peoples will bring their glory into a city where tears die. Every tongue will confess that Jesus is Lord. Every tongue will confess that Jesus Christ is Lord, to the glory of God the Father. Borders will dissolve in the light of perfect justice. Exiles will come home singing. The tree of life will heal nations once torn by clashing identities. That future does not make today easy. It makes today meaningful. So, could the immigration crisis be a sign of Matthew 24's warning? It could. Not as a single headline, not as a neat checklist, but as part of a pattern. A rising wave among many. A pressure that tests love. A movement that spreads the gospel. A shaking that wakes sleepers. That's how it looks. That's how it feels. That's how it fits the pattern. Don't just nod. Move. Don't just agree. Act. Open the text. Search your heart. Scan your city. Ask for wisdom. Practice mercy. Support justice. Keep your lamp lit. Hold your post. The hour is later than it seems. The work is greater than it looks. But the grace is stronger than the fear. And the King is closer than the noise. Now take a breath. Feel your heart steady. Feel your resolve rise. You were born for this time. Not by accident. By assignment. Stand where God has placed you. See what He is doing. Join Him in it. Step into the flow of His purpose. Be a man of truth in an age of spin. Be a man of courage in an age of fear. Be a man of mercy in an age of cold hearts. Be a man of order in an age of chaos. Be a signpost in an age of confusion. When you look again at the headlines, look with new eyes. Look for the pattern. Look for the purpose. Look for the people. Look for the King's hand weaving through it all. You will see it. You will see Him. And when you do, you will know your next step. If this stirred your spirit, don't let it fade. Open the scriptures this week. Read the words aloud. Pray them into your home. Share this message with a brother who needs clarity. Gather a few men. Talk it through. Make a plan. Serve together. And stay close, because what comes next will stretch faith, test resolve, and reveal hearts. But it will also reveal glory. We will walk this road together. We will keep watch together. We will discern the signs together. We will hold the line together. And when the pressures tighten like the final stage of labor, fast, intense, unavoidable, we will not be shaken. We will stand. We will shine. We will endure. We will overcome. Because the one who promised is faithful. Because the one who warned also comforts. Because the one who sends also supplies. This is not the end. This is the beginning of the end of the old. It's the doorway to the new. And when the trumpet sounds, every border will dissolve. Every exile will come home. Every nation will bow. Every tongue will confess. Until then, stay alert. Hold your post. Keep your lamp lit. And keep your eyes on the horizon, because the dawn is near.